In the beginning of February, so I feel like a few weeks ago, because it's still the beginning of March, maybe a month ago, my family and I were walking down the streets of Panama City to the bank to deposit money into the owner of our condo's account to pay our rent. And I feel like it hit me. This is real. This is real life. I'm out here paying rent and paying bills. And I am not, and I knew this, but I'm not a traveling tourist and I'm not on vacation. It's something else, it's something different. And I want to share some things that I've noticed, some things that I've realized on this journey of living in a place and even talking to some of my friends, right? It's come out too. So I feel like when you are a traveler, a traveling tourist, you're staying in a place for maybe a long weekend or a week or 2 weeks versus like I'm living here for 6 months, for a year, or indefinitely. One, you're consuming experiences, and living in a place means that you have to adapt to that place. It beckons you to find where you belong. It is an immersive experience in and of itself with no excursion in sight. Just the move and the living and the day to day is the experience. So I'm like navigating those two because my husband and I go back and forth in this. There's an intersectionality between us being traveling tourists and us living in this space and doing things you do when you live in a space, like pay bills and go grocery shopping and, do laundry and like, and, all of the regular, degular stuff, make dentist appointments. And you're in a space, we go like, it's in a space where I feel like I'm both. And I know I've said this before, maybe in passing in a video, but the newness of it all, I still want to explore. I still want to go to the touristy places that I see on the back of every Uber, that, some tour that they give you. I still want to do some of those things because I haven't been here before. This is our first time here. We haven't been here before. And yet and still I'm doing laundry and buying groceries and cooking and, paying bills. So it comes to be both. And yet there feels like such an impactful distinction. I have a sister friend and she travels and she has traveled. And she was like, I like to go to a place until I feel like it owes me nothing, right? On vacation. And please don't take O literally. O is in like, I've gotten as much as I feel like I can from this place. I've done everything that I want to do, right? Like I've left nothing behind. And I said, oh, okay, I feel you. Because sometimes you're there for a week and you wish it was 2 weeks, or you're there for 3 or 4 days and you're like, you know what? I wish we had stayed a week and then we could have gotten to do more. And we didn't get to do this and we didn't get to do that. And I really wanted to. And I said, okay, girl. I asked her a question. So if you don't do everything and see everything that you set out to see, does that go on some list where you're like, I'm going to come back to this place? And do you know her answer? Boss. She was like, no, I just extend my trip until I feel that feeling. And I was like, girl, I wasn't expecting that. I said, that is such a boss answer, to be like, no, I just extend my trip until I feel what I would like to feel. I'll make sure that I get those things in. I love it. And even in that example, it's a sense of I'm consuming in this space the things that I want to do. And it's because you don't have the luxury or the privilege of time. You're there for 4 days, you're there for a week, you're there for 2 weeks, and it goes by faster than you think. And you're like, oh, shoot, I wish we had done this. I was tired that day. I didn't get to do this. This was on my list to do, and I didn't get a chance. And so you're like, the more I could do. And there's a quickness and a speed to that. Unless you're the type of vacationer that's like, I'm chilling and I'm going to be by the pool and I'm going to go to the beach and I want to relax more. I don't want to fill up all my time with things to do. I mean, there are different kinds of travelers, different kinds of tourists, but that is definitely a point of differentiation when you feel like I live here, I have time. And so when I think about it, I'm like, I'm in Panama and I haven't seen the canal. But I also feel like I have the time and the spaciousness to go do that, because in the midst of wanting to experience those things and wanting to explore everything that Panama has to offer, I also am living my everyday life. And when you are in traveler tourist vacation mode, that's not necessarily the case. I just came back from a trip to Costa Rica for my birthday. I was in vacation mode. Okay. I'm talking about going grocery shopping here and cooking. I don't think we cooked at all while we were there. We ate out, and we brought some fruits and things for breakfast, and then we ate out of the house. And it was glorious. It was great. And I would say that I was more of just a traveler, vacation tourist in Costa Rica. And so if you're dealing with that more lax, like I just want to chill, maybe you're in a resort, right? Maybe you are at a really nice hotel and they have a pool and you can lounge in a lounge area. Maybe there's a restaurant on site. Maybe you're at an Airbnb. But essentially, in those spaces, there's some kind of catering to, that's happening to your needs. If you're in a resort, all inclusive, the food is there, people are handling your luggage, they're getting you what you need. If you need something, you can, call the concierge, you can see if they have it, you can set up excursions, they come pick you up and take you where you want to go to have the experience you want to have. You know, that's the experience of being on vacation. I was telling my cousin, I was like, yeah, she's like, does it feel like you're on vacation? I said, no, girl, because I'm looking at a pile of laundry I need to do right now. There's laundry right there that I need to do. This is when we first moved in. And I was like, yeah, I got to do that. And you don't see that on vacation. You don't see the dishes in the sink on vacation. You're not thinking about, ideally, the bills that you have to pay when you're on vacation as a tourist, right? Because maybe you budgeted whatever you budgeted for the trip, but you're not thinking of those recurring monthly bills. That's something that's waiting for you when you go home. But when you live in a place, it's your reality right now. This is home. This is where you have, for right now, for whatever season is, you have planted roots here, and those roots require you to think about your bills. And so it's an interesting dance of like, yeah, I want to go and explore X, Y, and Z. And also, I have to make sure that these bills are paid, that we have what we need in the fridge for our grocery shopping this week. And even that's changed for us, how we think about grocery shopping. We used to get produce. It says a lot about the produce in the United States, but I'm going to say this anyway. We used to get produce and it would last us the week. It wouldn't really go bad. And so we can shop for like a week at a time. Here, the produce is more ripe, it's fresher, it's local because we get local produce. And so we got about 3 days or so, depending on what it is. And then we need to go shopping again. So finding ourselves going grocery shopping a few times a week, right? And then putting that into our routine in a way that we weren't used to doing before. Living in a place kind of asks you to change, to mold, to do things differently than you are used to doing them, to do things that are unfamiliar, and to be in states of inconvenience. But when you're a tourist, it's all about your convenience and your ease. That's what you are investing in a lot of the time. Talking about like vacation mode tourists, consuming experiences, excursions, things like that. And even if you're more of an adventurer, you're consuming experiences in a shorter period of time. And just realizing that we are called to think differently. I don't even know who I'm going to be as this journey continues, how this experience is going to help to inspire and shape my children. We think about shaping and raising a lot when it comes to kids, but I'm like, this experience is raising me. This experience is shaping me. Hello. Who am I going to be? Who am I becoming in this journey? And that's something that you think about. There's a level of comfort that you want to have when you're visiting a space. Whatever that level is, there's layers to it. Right? I talked about Airbnb versus hotel versus a villa versus like a gated resort where you can have everything you ever need in that space. You're more likely to deal with people that speak your native language, right? And most likely it might be English in that country because you're bringing in a lot of foreigners. So they most likely at least speak 2 to 3 languages. And so you're not having to have a conversation with someone who's like, look, you speak Spanish, I speak English. I'm going to work on my Spanish. You're working on your English. We're going to figure this out. You're not having to do that. You're not having to be like, oh, why did my eSIM suddenly stop working? And the website is all in Spanish, and I don't quite have the nuances for this. I got to use my translator app, and the translator app makes it seem like I have to go in to the actual tech place to get my eSIM serviced, or like this is real life stuff that you're not dealing with on vacation. It's inconvenient, it's not comfortable, but it's part of the resilience. I feel like there's the resilience training that comes with living abroad. It's part of the process and the journey. Whereas you don't really want to deal with inconveniences when you're staying at a resort or you're staying at a villa, or you want things to go as smoothly as possible. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. You might have to call somebody and be like, look, something happened with the drink, somebody please help me. When we were staying at a hotel here, when we first got here, definitely got locked out of our room. The little latch thing somehow latched. I couldn't get in the room. Okay, so that wasn't fun, but they fixed it because there are people there to help you on demand with your room, with your villa, with your Airbnb, with your host, and definitely at a resort. The inconveniences, the character building inconveniences of living in a space and dealing with handling language barriers when you really need to get something done. Y'all, I mentioned this before, like still trying to get a bank account. That was going to happen this month. I feel like our goal is for it to happen this month because it'll make things a lot easier. There's the inconvenience of like taking out cash to be able to deposit it as opposed to just transferring with a bank app, and we could go to a different bank and open it up with the paperwork we have. However, the bank that the owner of the condo that we're staying in uses, that we're renting from, the bank that the building uses, because I went to reserve the event space downstairs for the iftar that I'm hosting next weekend. They only use this bank, and so again, I have to do the same process. So again, you're not thinking about those things. The convenience is part of the process, part of the journey, part of the fun of being like a vacationer and a traveling tourist. That's how I felt in Costa Rica. And here, it was funny when we were in Costa Rica, we're saying when we go back home. I use this term and so do my kids. And this is home. We have built something here. We are continuing to build. It's only been 8 weeks, give or take. And we're building something here for ourselves and our family. And it's like we're going home to the things that you've got to do at home and the things that you have to take care of at home. So that's definitely something. I think living in a place you have the luxury to move a little slower, which I find ironic. Here's why. It feels like when you live in your home country, like in the US, for me, my experience, things felt like they were moving very fast. It was always like, what are we going to do? There was an energy about it. I'm still here having to do all the things that I did there. Not all, but most of the practical life things that I've discussed with you all that I had to do there. And yet I feel like I have the luxury to move at a slower pace. I don't use a phone while I'm out, not to talk to anybody or to text anybody. And so I can literally just walk slowly. I can literally look around. I can look up. I can notice the fact that I'm in a city and there's all this greenery, that sometimes in the sidewalks I'm ducking under tree leaves that are really low. I can notice all of these things. I can notice my landmarks because I'm not driving in a car so fast that I miss it. I can see it and I can notice it. I have the privilege and the luxury of noticing. And when you have a shorter period of time where you're trying to get something in on a vacation, or you're trying to make sure that you're as relaxed and zen as possible, you you're trying to get in that sense of relaxation until you go back to what may feel like a little bit more chaotic, like real life, or you're trying to get so much in before you go back. There's this before and after of like, I got to do this before I get back to this real life situation. But this is my real life. And I mentioned that I have the luxury of time. One thing that I will say, and this one perhaps is a little heavier, but still very true. I don't know if when you're in vacation mode, if you are as aware of your sense of privilege in that space. The privilege of the USD, or whatever the currency that you bring to that space, the privilege of the access that you have to certain things that certain locals may not even have access to, because you're there to enjoy yourself. And while we're enjoying ourselves here, over time, you see things. I'm not in a resort where I'm closed off from things. I'm not even in a gated community. I'm in a building where I can see other buildings. Like, we have amenities. We have a pool and a gym and 24-hour security. And I know every building doesn't have that. And yet, and still, I'm in a space where I can visually see who's working and what the work flow is looking like during the day, and going to school, and what the little the yellow school vans look like when the kids are getting dropped off is different than the yellow school bus that I'm used to in the States. I can see all of these things because I'm smack dab in the middle of it. And I also see levels of disparity that you would see anywhere that you really lived, because distinctions in wealth gaps, distinctions around class, distinctions around rate, like race, all of these things, this is global. And yet, as a tourist, you may not see them. You may not feel them. You may not be aware of them. But here I'm like, I'm more aware of what a privilege it is for me to be in this space doing what it is that I'm doing, for us to be here as a family, for my kids to experience what they're experiencing. I didn't experience it at their age. There's so many privileges, whether it's educational privileges, whether it's socioeconomic, whether it has to do with who we grew up with in our home and who we didn't. There is access and experiences that we can have and that we're afforded that other people are not, that others are not, and their access and experiences that other people have that I am not. There are layers. And you stay in a place long enough, you see the layers. So I definitely feel like that's a part of it, right? I'm looking down just because I don't want to miss anything. Oh, I feel like my last thing is along those lines, is interactions with locals. When you're on vacation, you might meet a really cool person. Like, I met a real cool person in Costa Rica. She saw me, she was like, hey girl, like she was an auntie, like she knew me. And we were in a space where you didn't see a lot of us. And so when she saw me in my family, she ran up to me, hugged me, like she knew me. I'm sure anybody observing would have been like, "Oh, they know each other." Nah, that's just the vibe. It's just how we roll. And so it was great. I met really nice people on my vacation in Costa Rica. And I still remember their names, and some of them I have the contact information, but I'm not seeing them on a regular basis. I'm not going into Organica like I am here and being like, hey, hola, Gloria. You know, she's always greeting me with a smile, like know her by name, see her as she prepares our food with such care. And she's so patient with me in helping me with my Spanish. And when I go to the local, you know, fruteria, the fruit market, and seeing some of the same people and having the conversations with them, it's like, okay, you know, I'm here and I'm engaging and building relationship and familiarity with people that I meet. Not just I met a cool person on a vacation and we snapped a picture together, which is great. And yet and still I'm probably not going to see them again, or I'm not going to see them that often. Maybe I'll see them again when I go back to that space or that place or that location, but they're not a part of my life. They're not a part of my life. I was going to say part of our lives. You see what I'm saying? So when you're in that other mode, it's just nice to have. But here, you're building, you're adapting, you're growing, you're elevating, you are crying sometimes and learning lessons. And I know I laugh when I say crying, but I'm like crying out of frustration with certain things, certain inconveniences, like we talked about, but then realizing that it's going to be fine. You're going to figure it out. This is your growth moment. This is your point of elevation. This is why you are here doing what you are doing. This was honestly a huge part of why I am here. Personal development and growth, I truly believe, will and has been accelerated through the experience of diving into the unfamiliar in this way. I feel like my husband would agree. We've had conversations about this. So yeah, that's what I have for you today. And hopefully in our own lives, wherever you are in the world, you stop and lean into awareness of who you are in this moment, who you're becoming because of the challenges, because of the inconveniences, and leaning into that growth and that elevation, that development that is you. No matter if you're living abroad or not, we're all growing. We're all elevating. We're all figuring it out, discovering ourselves, becoming different versions of ourselves. People are like, I've lived several lives. You know, that feeling of there's reinvention. We're starting over again. Maybe we've started over 3 or 4 times, and that's life. So hopefully this was helpful. This was interesting. And you liked this video, if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If something resonated with you or you have something that you want to share, I am all ears. You can put that down in the comments below. I will respond and we can continue the conversation. If conversations like this, musings about living abroad, revelations, relational content, and how we can have stronger and better relationships with self and with our partners, and in turn, other relationships that we value, if that kind of thing is your vibe, then please subscribe. And I look forward to continuing the journey with you. And if you don't know, I am doing 100 days of daily posting on YouTube challenge. And I think this is day 34 for me. So for those of you rocking with me on this journey, thank you. I appreciate you. For those of you who just came on the journey, let's go on it together, because I don't know what this 100 days is going to bring. Just like I don't know who I am going to become in this journey. This is all happening in real time. And I'm inviting you along for the ride, which is both exhilarating and uncomfortable. But here we are. So, on that note, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time and your listening ear. And I will see you tomorrow.